For those of you who are sick or traveling on a journey and they break their fast, this is yani not in the verse, but the meaning, that's the meaning, and they break their fast, then it's upon them to make up the days they missed in the days after the month of Ramadan. Ahsantum. طيب, what is the marad? What is the sickness? The type of sickness? يعني not meaning the type of sickness, meaning the name of the sickness. I mean, what level of sickness permits the individual to be able to break his fast? If fasting during this sickness, he finds difficulty, real difficulty, doesn't mean that he's going to die. We said that the person who's sick in that way, where if he fasts, he may die, or maybe lose a limb, or put himself in real danger. This person is haram for him to fast, right? That person is haram for him to fast. Just like the musafir, the one that is traveling, and if he fasts while he's traveling, and him fasting while he's traveling will possibly cause him to die or become extremely, extremely ill, put himself in real danger, this person is permissible for him to fast. Okay? But what is the level of sickness that? If you have that level of sickness, it's permissible for you to break your fast. What did you say? He finds difficulty in it. It's difficult. It's hardship. It's mashaqqa. Real mashaqqa. Real difficulty. He can get past it probably if he wants to, but it's difficult in it. Sharia allows him, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows him to break his fast. We mentioned two other things. If he fasts in this situation during the sickness, it prolongs the sickness, he can break his fast. What's the other thing we mentioned? Or if he fasts while he's sick, it will increase the sickness. In these situations, he can break his fast. Ahsantum, very good. طيب, we mentioned the musafir, the one that's traveling. We said that all the ulama are in agreement, if he finds difficulty in fasting while he's traveling, it's better for him to break his fast, but it's permissible for him to fast. Right? It's permissible for him to fast. The majority of the scholars say that. Right? Now, we mentioned in the situation like in modern day, in our day and age, where if he fasts, it's not really that difficult. He's going to get on the plane, he'll be on there for a number of hours, right? He doesn't have to move, AC, he's relaxed. Even maybe he takes a car ride, road trip, AC in the car, he's relaxed, sitting back, he's not even doing driving, right? Whether he breaks his fast or he fasts is the same. We said that, what did we say about that? We said the majority of the scholars, they say in this situation he should fast. It's better for him to fast in that situation. Why? Because of the adillah. There's many adillah. We mentioned the different adillah in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Some of the proofs that show that you shouldn't fast while you're traveling. Some show that it's permissible to fast while you're traveling, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he fasted while he was traveling. Some of the Sahaba, they fasted while they were traveling. Some narrations say, one of the Sahaba mentioned that we will be on a voyage and some of us will be fasting, some of us will be fasting, and some of us wouldn't fast. And the one that was fasting wouldn't blame the one that was not fasting. The one that was not fasting would not blame the one that was fasting. So there's many adillah in this bab in regards to fasting while you're traveling. So the jamhur of the scholars, Al-Hanafiya wa Malikiyya wa Shafi'i, they say if this is your situation where it's the same if you fast or you break your fast, it's better to fast. Of their proofs is that it's asra fi ibra' al-dhimma. It's faster in removing the obligation from yourself, because maybe after the month of Ramadan it becomes hard for you to fast. As for the Hanabila, they say it's always better for you to break your fast. Even if it's easy, it's always better. It's always mustahab. And they say it's makruh to fast. Right? They say it's always better to break your fast due to the adillah that came in the sunnah, the proofs that come in the sunnah, where Prophet ﷺ said, Laysa min al-birri as-sawm fi safar. It's not pious to fast while you're traveling. And the other adillah, Prophet ﷺ, when he broke his fast and he ordered the Muslims to break their fast when they're in their voyage from Medina to Mecca, and some of the believers continued to fast, he called them disobedient. He said those individuals are disobedient, they're disobedient. The man who يعني he was fasting while the Muslims were traveling and he passed out. And some of the Sahaba, they went and they surrounded him and they were fanning him and things like that. And he passed out due to the heat. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, and that's when he said, لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ الصَّوْمُ فِي السَّفَرِ. It's not pious to fast while you're traveling. So from that, and also the verse, what does the verse say? The verse says, whichever of you becomes sick or travels is general, or they want to travel on a voyage, let them make it up from days after. So looking at all those proofs, they say that it's always better to break your fast. Lakin, it's permissible to fast. And it seems like the correct opinion, when it's easy to fast, you should fast. You should fast. طيب. Last question before we begin today's dars. We spoke about the siyam of the hamil wal murdi', the fasting of the pregnant woman and the breastfeeding woman. We said they have 3 conditions. 1, they break their fast if they want to. They don't have to break their fast, firstly. The pregnant woman and the breastfeeding woman, they have the choice to break their fast. If they don't break their fast, then they're just like everyone else fasting, okay? But they have 3 conditions in regards to them breaking their fast. The first one, if they break their fast due to fear for themselves, what's upon them? What did we say? If they break their fast due to fear from themselves, the pregnant woman thinks she's going to pass out. She can't take it. She's so hungry, right? The baby is sucking all the energy from her. The murdi', the breastfeeding woman as well, as it takes a lot of energy to breastfeed, right? Some of you brothers are not married. Ask the married brothers who have kids. You see the wife going through it, right? They need to eat more, right? So she's fearful for herself, so she breaks her fast. What's upon her? Just to make it up. She's like the marital, the sick one. They make it up after the month. Okay? Same thing as well. If they break their fast out of fear for themselves and for the baby, they just make it up. But we said we brought tafsil, detailed answer to the pregnant woman and the breastfeeding woman who breaks her fast out of fear for the baby, not out of fear for herself. She's strong. She's good. But she's afraid for the baby. The breastfeeding woman, she sees that the milk is not coming out like that. She sees the baby is crying all day. The baby is hungry, right? The milk is not producing. Her milk is drying out because she's been fasting, right? So she breaks her fast out of fear for the baby. The pregnant woman as well, she's afraid the baby won't develop. She's afraid the baby is not getting the correct nutrition it needs while the baby's in the womb. So she breaks her fast as well. What did we say the hukum? What did the Hanabila say and the Shafi'iyya say? What did we say? The opinion of the muallif, of the Sheikh, of Sheikh Abdul-Rahman bin Nasr al-Sa'di, which is the opinion of the Hanabila and the Shafi'iyya. What do we say? They have to make it up and they have to give kaffarah. They have to make it up and give kaffarah for every year that they broke their fast. Okay? And that is acting upon the fatwa of Abdullah ibn Abbas or Abdullah ibn Umar, where they mentioned that. Okay, but we mentioned that what we see is the more correct opinion was the opinion of the... Who remembers? You get 5 points. Yeah, Mustafa. She just makes it up, ahsant, which is the opinion of the Hanafiya. She just makes it up. And many of the Mu'asirin take that opinion as well. اختاره ابن باز وشيخ محمد ابن باز وابن عثيمين رحمهم الله as well. They take that opinion that they just make up the day. They just make up the day. Okay, we mentioned the proof for that last week. The hadith of the proofs is the hadith of Anas ibn Malik al-Ka'bi radiallahu anhu. He mentioned that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَضَعَ عَنَ الْمُسَافِرِ شَطْرَ الصَّلَاةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has removed the obligation of half of the salah for the traveler. The traveler can shorten his salah, right? And then he continued to say, he said, وَعَنِ الْمُسَافِرِ وَالْحَامِلِ وَالْمُرْضِعِ الصَّوْمِ. And he removed the obligation of fasting from the traveler, the pregnant woman, and the breastfeeding, nursing woman. So they say, Hanafiya, they say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the scholars that follow the opinion, Allah, the Prophet ﷺ has gathered them up all in the same hukum, all in the same ruling. And what's upon the musafir? The musafir, when he breaks his fast, what's upon him? Just make it up. And also, what's her dhanb? She's breaking her fast, doing something that is, she feels an obligation. So why put a kafara on her as well? Right? Why put a kafara upon her? For something that the Sharia has made permissible for her to do. Right? So she's more like the marid and the musafir than being like the ajiz, one who pays the kafara. She's more like the sick one or the traveler, more than her being like the ajiz, the one who's unable to fast that pays the fidya, that other scholars say that she's like that, and like the marid. يعني. طيب, let's begin today's dars. الأشياء التي تفطر, the things that break the fast. First we mentioned last week, we started إذا, or we didn't start. We said من أفطر فعليه القضاء فقط. The one that breaks his fast, with a reason, with a good reason. He's sick or he's traveling, right? He's unable to fast. He breaks his fast. The only thing upon him is to make up the days later, as it came in the ayah. Okay? So first they mentioned the things that break the fast, al-akl wa shurb. This is muttafaq alayhi, of course, between the scholars, without a doubt. The things that break the fast are al-akl wa shurb, eating, yani food and drink. لكن, however, if the person, the Shaykh mentions, إذا أفطر بهما لعذر فليس عليه إلا القضاء, if they break their fast with an excuse, nothing's upon him except qada, except to make the days up. However, إذا أفطر بغير عذر فقد وقع في ذنب كبير. However, if he broke his fast, he ate or drank without any excuse, he just became weak, he smelled the food and he ate it, he went and hid in his room, hid in the bathroom, as some of the young brothers and sisters do in the morning before they go out to school. Take a few snacks, put it in their bag, right? When they go out to school, right? They break their fast in school and they eat. Right? They're in a school, there's not that many Muslims. Nobody's going to say nothing to them. And they come back home, their mother and father ask them if they were fasting. You fast? You still fasting? Yes, I'm fasting. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees them. Right? So the person that breaks his fast with food and drink on purpose, he's fell into a major sin. And he has to make tawbah. And he has to make the day up. He has to make istighfar and tawbah, make the day up. Even some scholars say he has to pay kaffarah. The person that eats or drinks in the daytime without an excuse, he does it on purpose, amdan. Some of the scholars say he has to pay kaffarah as well. He has to make up the day and pay kaffarah. Why? Because they do qiyas upon jima'. They do qiyas of eating and drinking on purpose, amdan, with jima'. Jima' is what? Marital relations. We're going to mention the hukam of the one who has relations with his wife in the daytime, or the woman that has relations with her husband in the daytime. They have to pay kafara. We're going to mention what the kafara is in a little while. But they say, the Hanafiya and Malikiya, they do qiyas. And they say the one who breaks his fast with food and drink is like the one who had relations with his wife in the day. He's similar to the one that broke his fast by having relations with his wife, so he has to pay kafara as well. The kafara is what? Feeding a needy believer for every day that you broke the fast. They say because the same illah is there. What is the illah? What is the reasoning behind it? Why does the one who broke his fast while having relations with his wife, why does he have to pay kafara? Because he broke the sanctity and the sacredness of the month. And they say the one who eats and drinks, he broke the sanctity, the sacredness of the month as well, so he has to pay kafara as well. Okay? Also, a narration came, it mentions that one ate, he broke his fast, and the day doesn't mention how he broke his fast. Then the Messenger of Allah commanded for him to pay the kafara. But most likely, that narration is speaking about the one who had relations with his wife. And since there's a possibility there, then that proof is not necessarily strong. But the Hanabila, and this is a book in Hanbali Fiqh, the Hanabila and the Shafi'i, they say no. And their position is correct, is the more correct opinion, that the only thing upon the person who ate or drank without any excuse in the daytime of Ramadan, upon him is al-qada, at-tawbah wal-qada. He has to repent and he has to make the day up, because marital relations is way worse. Marital relations having sex with your wife in the daytime, I'm trying to be PG-13, I'm not trying to say the word, but so you guys understand what I'm saying. Doing that act is worse than eating and drinking. Because of that, we find the only nas, yani the narrations that speak about yani marital relations, the hadith that we're going to mention in a little while, they're the only narrations that mention the kaffarah. As for breaking the fast with food and drink, there's no narration that mentions that he has kaffarah. The person has to do kaffarah. That's because that type of way of breaking your fast is worse. It's the worst way to break your fast. It's the worst way to break the sanctity and sacredness of the month. That's why the Messenger of Allah ordered that individual with kaffarah. Okay? And food and drink, يعني doing food and drink, making qiyas with food and drink upon that is qiyas ma'al fariq. It's qiyas ma'al fariq. يعني doing qiyas, saying something is like something but they're different. Saying that something is like something but they're actually different. يعني breaking your fast in with marital relations is worse, and that's why the punishment is worse. Just like in Hajj. There's different mahdhurat in Hajj, things that you can't do. The worst of them, and tied to it is the worst or most severe punishment, is also marital relations, just like in Hajj. So Siyam is just like Hajj as well. We shouldn't do qiyas, and the ulama do qiyas with eating and drinking on jima', marital relations. That qiyas is not necessarily correct. It's not correct because they're different, and jima' is worse. طيب, but anyway, it's a major sin. The believer needs to make tawbah if he falls into that. طيب. تعمد القي, the one that purposefully throws up. The one that throws up on purpose, he forces himself to throw up. What is his hukm? The one that he puts his finger down his throat, for example, or he squeezes his stomach, or he goes and does something, مثلا going to smell something with a horrible stench, knowing that it's going to make him throw up on purpose. What is the hukm of that person? His fast is broke. He breaks his fast in that way. The person that throws up on purpose, he breaks his fast. Okay? So throwing up, you have two different categories. The person that throws up on purpose and the person that is overwhelmed with a throw up. Yani he can't help it, he throws up by accident, for whatever reason. The one that throws up on purpose, he breaks his fast. The one that, as the Prophet of Allah said, مَنْ ذَرَعَهُ الْقَيْ فَلَا قَضَى عَلَيْهِ. The one who throws up, يعني, he can't help it. The throw up comes. Maybe he smells something by accident. Something disgusting made him throw up. Maybe a hamil, a pregnant woman. She's in the beginning stages of her pregnancy, right? And that's what our sisters go through. She throws up. She can't help it. Those individuals, they did not break their fast. Rather, they should continue to fast. And it's as if they didn't break their fast. As if they didn't even throw up. But what's upon them is to do what? The remaining substance or whatever that's in their mouth, they have to spit it out. They shouldn't swallow it. Okay? Because the Prophet of Allah he said, مَنِ اسْتَقَاءَ عَمْدًا فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَاء. The one that throws up on purpose, he has to make up the fast. وَمَنْ ذَرَعَهُ الْقَيْ فَلَا قَضَاء عَلَيْهِ. And the one that's overpowered with the throw up or throwing up, then there's no qada alayh. He does not have to make the day up. Okay? Next, al-hijama. The mas'ala of hijama. Hijama, what's hijama in English? Cupping. Cupping. Not dry cupping. Cupping where blood is suctioned out or taken out of the body. This is a mas'ala al-hijama. First of all, the Hanabila and the Mu'allif, they take the position that hijama breaks the fast. Before we get into, I'm not going to get into too deep in the ikhtilaf between the ulama. First, I want to mention that بغض النظر, without looking into the ikhtilaf, whether it's permissible, whether it's mubah or not mubah, you should stay away from it while you're fasting. It weakens the body. Doing a hijama while you're fasting, you're already weak, you're already in a weakened state. Doing hijama, taking all that blood, suctioning all that blood out of you, it will weaken you even more and possibly make you or force you to break your fast or to fall ill. So you should stay away from it. The Hanabila, they take the position that it's not permissible to do hijama while you're fasting. It will break the fast. It breaks the fast. Due to the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, the one that performs the hijama and the one that the hijama is performed on him, both of them break their fast, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. Okay? Both of them break their fast. So due to this proof, the Hanabila, they hold this proof, and they take this proof, and there's other ahadith like احتجم النبي أو احتجم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو صائم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, hijama was performed upon him while he was fasting. But they say that this hadith has many ihtimalat, many possibilities. One, they don't see it to be necessarily that strong of a proof. Two, even if it is authentic, they said there's so many possibilities. Maybe, one also in looking chronologically or in the timeline, it's very possible that the second hadith I just mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ doing hijama while he was sa'im, it came first, and then this next hadith that I mentioned first came after, and I abrogated it. So we don't know whether this next hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he performed hijama or hijama was performed on him while he was fasting, if it came first or after. Right? Is it nasikh or mansukh? Is it the hadith that abrogated the previous hadith, or was it abrogated by the hadith we just mentioned? Right? Also, they say, even if it is authentic, maybe the Prophet ﷺ was traveling. He was traveling while he was fasting, and the traveler can break his fast. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he mentions many ihtimalat and possibilities why or what could possibly be the correct understanding of this hadith, and why the first hadith after al-hajim wal-mahjum, the one who performed the hijama and the one that hijama is performed on him, that hukum that we get from that is the hukum that everyone should follow. And the one who performs hijama while he's fasting, he breaks his fast. So that's the position of the Hanabila. And as we mentioned, you should stay away from it, whether you follow the other opinion I'm about to mention right now or not. The Jamhur of the scholars, the majority of the scholars, they take the position that it's either makruh or mubah. That it's either disliked or is permissible. Right? Why do they take that position? They do jama'. The Hanafi and Maliki, they do jama'. They combine between the adillah. As you mentioned, the two hadith or conflicting hadith, and they do jama'. They gather between them. They say the first hadith shows that it has karaha, that is disliked. The second hadith shows that it's not haram. The first hadith shows that it's disliked and it's not haram, right? It's disliked. And the next hadith, the Prophet ﷺ actually did hijama while he was fasting, shows that it's not haram, right? Also, they look at the athar of the Sahaba. Anas ibn Malik, he says that the Prophet ﷺ gave concession to the one fasting to do hijama. He mentioned that. And the rukhsah, the concession, or the rukhsah, it only comes after something being prohibited. Right? Also, Anas ibn Malik said that he used to do hijama while he was fasting. And he was asked, did you all, Sahaba, did you all used to dislike doing hijama at the time of the Prophet ﷺ? They said no. But the only reason it may have been disliked or was disliked was due to the da'af, the weakness it will give the person, the faster. Right? And there's many Sahaba that narrated that the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited al-muwasala wal-hijama. وَلَمْ يُحَرِّمْهُمَا. He prohibited muwasala, fasting, consecutive days without breaking your fast except during the time of suhoor. And he prohibited hijama, but he didn't make them haram. Meaning he disliked it. Telling them you shouldn't do it, but he didn't make it haram. So they did jam between these narrations and athar of the Sahaba. From that, they say that it's makruh, disliked. And the Hanafiya say it's mubah. Anyway, it's better to stay away from it. You should stay away from it, except if you're in dire need. Some people, maybe they're very sick, whatever the case may be, and that's something that can really help them. Then, if they follow the opinion of the other scholars that say it's permissible, then they have a recognized opinion, but it's better to stay away from it. And if you want to do it, you should do it in the nighttime. The Shaykh, Shaykh Ibn Jibreen, he gets into a more detailed commentary of the connected to the science of hadith. I'm not going to mention it because a lot of it may go over our head, so I'm not going to mention it. The last thing he said, فالحاصل أن في المسألة خلافا طويلا. He said, so after everything he mentioned, there's a big difference of opinion, a long difference of opinion between the scholars in regards to this mas'ala. Is it permissible? Is it not permissible? فيها مناقشة كثيرة. There's a lot of back and forth and debate. He said, فالإمام أحمد هو الذي اختار أن الحاجم والمحجوم يفطران. He said, Imam Ahmad, he takes the opinion that, and he chooses the opinion that the one who performs the hijama on a person and the one that the hijama is performed upon him, they both break their fast. أما الأئمة الثلاثة, as for the three other imams from the الأئمة الأربع, الإمام أبو حنيفة, الإمام مالك, الإمام الشافعي, قالوا لا يفطران, they don't break their fast. They said that they do not break their fast, and everyone has their ijtihad. طيب, moving on. الإمناء بمباشرة. الإمناء بمباشرة. Masturbating. This may be a little uncomfortable. We got a lot of young brothers in here, but we can't have shyness in regards to مسائل فقهية. We have to learn, right? الإمناء بمباشرة. Masturbating until you ejaculate. It breaks the fast. Masturbating until you ejaculate, it breaks the fast. Okay? And masturbating in general is haram, aslan. You shouldn't do it when you're fasting, nor when you're not fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ إِلَّا عَلَىٰ أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مَلُومِينَ. And He says, and those individuals who they protect their privates, except with their wives and what their right hands possess. So Islam has only given us, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has only given us two ways to fulfill our desires. That is with our wives or with our right hands possess. Okay, if you don't have that, then upon you is to do what? To fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء. As the Messenger of Allah said, يَا مَعْشَرَ الشَّبَابِ من منكم استطاع يا معشر الشباب. He says, oh young men, upon you is to marry the one that has the ability to marry. He said, because it will be better for him or will help him or enable him to lower his gaze, and it will help him to protect his privates. And the one who can't, he said, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالصَّوْمِ, it's upon you to fast, فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء, because it will weaken his desire. يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج, as the Messenger of Allah said. That's the Arabic. It didn't come to me in the beginning. طيب. So the Shaykh, he says, ومن الأشياء التي تفطر الإمناء بمباشرة. The things that break the fast is masturbating until you ejaculate. فإذا باشر أو قبل فأمنى فإنه يمسك بقية يومه ويقضي. So if he, for example, masturbates and he ejaculates, or he starts to do foreplay with his wife, for example, but they don't have relations. They begin to kiss and touch, and he ejaculates, or she touches him and he ejaculates. He breaks his fast. Okay? So if you, for example, go, or your wife begins to touch you, foreplay, whatever the case may be, you touch her, kissing, whatever the case may be, foreplay, all the things that are connected to foreplay, whatever the case may be. If you break your fast, if you ejaculate, doing one of those things, you break your fast. If you don't ejaculate, your fast is still valid. Okay? If you don't ejaculate, your fast is still valid. If you kiss your wife, if she touches you, if you touch her, right? Even if madhi comes. Madhi is what? The pre-semen fluid. Even if madhi comes, it doesn't break your fast. In the most correct of opinions, the madhi, if it comes, it doesn't break your fast. Okay? What will break your fast is the mani, which is the semen, ejaculating. So if you touch your wife, or even if you just look at your wife and you keep staring at her, right, until you ejaculate, then you break your fast. If you're looking at something haram, pictures, videos, right, and you keep looking at it, Even if you don't touch yourself, you ejaculate, you break your fast. Okay? As for madhi, the pre-semen fluid, if it comes, right, you get a thought, think about something, you see attractive woman, or you see your wife, and that comes, you don't break your fast. Okay? It has to be many. As for, as we're going to mention in a few seconds, or a couple minutes, or right now, inshallah ta'ala, the only time that you will break your fast without ejaculating in regards to what happens between a man and a female, or a man and his wife, is if you enter your wife. They say you enter, then you say, astaghfirullah, and you don't finish. Sorry if you brothers feel a little uncomfortable, but it has to be said. We have married brothers here that have to know this. Even if you don't finish, you break your fast through entering. Ad-dukhul. As soon as you enter the astaghfirullah. Allah al-musta'an. If you enter your wife, just entering her breaks the fast. Okay, even if you don't ejaculate. Okay? We need to be mature, my brothers. I don't want to see any smiles. Okay? Okay, so it's understood that touching, feeling, these things don't break the fast unless you ejaculate. As for jima', marital relations, just entering, you break the fast, even if you don't ejaculate. Okay? The Shaykh, he says, فَإِذَا بَاشَرَ وَقَبَّلَ فَأَمْنَ فَإِنَّهُ يُمْسِكْ بَقِيَّةُ يَوْمِهِ وَيَقْضِي. Let's say he fell into that, and he ended up breaking his fast. He keeps going, he keeps breaking his fast, he goes and eats and drinks and continues with his wife, or continues doing the things that broke his fast. La. He stops. He seeks forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he stays away from all the things that break the fast until ghurub al-shams. Take this right now, and this principle. Anytime a person breaks his fast, whether he does it on purpose or he does it out of nisyan, out of forgetfulness, that's not a udhr, an excuse now for him to continue to break his fast. La. He has to make istighfar and begin to stay away from everything that he's supposed to stay away from, even if he has to make the day up. That's understood. Right? Person, he, like we mentioned, fell into something that breaks the fast. He doesn't say, khalas, I broke the fast, let me just continue to eat and drink and be with my wife and do everything that a person who's not fasting can do. La, you stay away from all of those things until ghurub al-shams, until the sun sets. طيب, the fifth thing we want to speak about that breaks the fast, al-jima'. Now we're going to deal with jima'. Jima', it's the worst way to break your fast, having relations with your wife. What is jima'? I want to say jima'. I don't want to say anything. What is jima'? You said marital relations, right? Khalas, I don't want to say marital relations or sex or any of that stuff anymore. I just want to say jima'. In Arabic, it sounds better, and it's more PG-13. And I'd rather stick to that word. Everyone knows what that word means now, right? Khalas. Al-jima'. The Shaykh, he mentions, إِلَّا مَنْ أَفْطَرَ بِجِمَاعٍ, except the one who breaks his fast with jima'. This person has al-kaffarah, has to do qada, make the day up, and he has al-kaffarah al-mughallada, the more severe kaffarah, the most severe kaffarah. Right? What is it? What is it? He has to free a slave. If he can't do that, which in our day and age, there's no slaves, فَإِن لَمْ يَجِدْ فَصِيَامُ شَهْرَيْنِ مُتَتَابِعِينَ. If he can't do that, then he has to fast 2 months consecutively. He has to fast 2 months consecutively. Okay? If he can't do that for whatever reason, then فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَيَطْعَامُ سِتِّينَ مِسْكِينًا. If he can't do that, then he has to feed 60 masakin, 60 needy believers. Okay? So upon him is to do what? Qada wal kafara wal imsak. If he falls into that, he has jima' with his wife, he doesn't say khalas, as we just mentioned, he had jima' with his wife, khalas, I'm going to be with her again. Right? Might as well enjoy the day. La. Makes istighfar with tawbah. He has to make the day up, he has to pay the kafara, right? For that day, and he has to stay away from all the mufattirat, all the things that breaks his fast until ghurub al-shams as well. Okay, a man came to the Messenger of Allah and he said, Ya Rasulullah, halakt. Ya Rasulullah, I've been destroyed. The Messenger of Allah he said, وَمَا أَهْلَكَكَ? What destroyed you? Or he said, وَمَا لَكَ مَا شَأْنُكَ? Why do you say that? What's going on with you? He said, وَقَعْتُ عَلَى إِمْرَأَتِي فِي نَهَارِ رَمَضَانِ. I fell on my wife. You guys know what that means, right? جيد. I fell on my wife in the daytime of Ramadan. The Messenger of Allah immediately he said, are you able to free a slave? He said, no. لا أجدها. I don't have the money to do that. He said, can you fast 60 days consecutively? Can you fast 60 days or 2 months consecutively? He said, I don't have the ability to do that. He said, هل تستطيع أن تطعم 60 مسكينة? Can you fast 60 needy believers? He said, I can't do that, O Messenger of Allah. Then the Messenger of Allah says, he said, sit right here and wait. Then araq min tamar. Araq is a huge basket of dates was brought to the Messenger of Allah. And the narration said it had 15 sa'a, which are 60 amdad, 60 handfuls of tamar in it. He said, take this and feed the 60 masakin. He said, Ya Rasulullah, ala afqara minni wa min ahli bayti. Am I going to feed people who are poorer than me and the people of my household? The Messenger of Allah began to laugh until his canine teeth began to show. Right? He said, Ya Rasulullah, there's no one poorer in the whole city of Medina than me and my family. Min bayni labatayha, he said, between the two volcanic mountains of Medina, there's no one poorer than me and my family. The Messenger of Allah began to laugh until his canine teeth showed. He said, kulhu, he said, you eat it, وَأَطْعِمْهُ أَهْلَكَ أَوْ عِيَالَكَ, and give it to your family, feed your family with it. The Messenger of Allah, why is he laughing? He's laughing because he came out, Rasulullah, halakt, I've been destroyed. Right? Then at the end, the Messenger of Allah, when he gave him the food, the tamar, to do the kaffarah, he's helping him do the kaffarah, right? To get out of this mushkil and this problem he put himself into. Now he's saying, Ya Rasulullah, I'm the poorest in Medina. Right? And he was, most likely. He's not lying, right? And he's willing, it's okay with him. He feels okay just to take it and go. And he came complaining, wanting a way out, and he left with tamar to eat and to feed his family with. That's why the Messenger of Allah began to laugh until his canine teeth began to show. So this is the proof that is authentic proof that shows that the one that commits that act in the day of Ramadan, upon him is the qada wal kaffara. طيب. I have a question. هل تجب الكفارة على المرأة إذا مكنته من نفسها? Is the kafara that we mentioned upon this man, upon anyone that falls into that, is the kafara also going to be wajiba, an obligation on the wife as well? Raise your hand. Those who think that it's a obligation on the wife as well, raise your hand. Those who don't, keep your hand down. An obligation on the wife as well. Just like that? She had it on it. He said, طيب, أحسنت. طيب. نعم صحيح. The jamhur of the scholars, they say yes. If she allowed it, she didn't tell him no, she didn't stop it, she wanted it as well, right? And they both fall into that sin, upon her is the kafara as well. She has to make the day up and she has to pay kafara. That's what the majority of the scholars say. Why? Because she's mukallafa, right? She has to stay away from the mufattirat as well, right? She has to stay away from the things that break the fast. She's obligated to fast. There's no difference between her and the man, right? So just the same way that it's upon him to pay the kafara, it's upon her to pay the kafara as well. Okay, what if he forced her though? Haddadaha, he threatened her. If you don't obey me, I'm going to do this to you and that to you. He threatened her life. He put her in danger. He said, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you. She's afraid. He forced her. Now what? She still has to pay it? She doesn't have to pay it. La. She doesn't have to pay it. Ahsantum. Very good. Shaykh, he says, أكثر الفقهاء قالوا نعم. Most of the fuqaha, They say yes, upon her is the kafara لأنها مكلفة فعليها مثل ما عليه, because she's مكلفة, يعني it's upon her, the obligations are upon her just the same way it's upon him. أما إذا لم تمكنه, as for if she didn't allow him and he forced her, يعني قهرها, he forced her, فإن الكفارة عليه وحده, then the kafara is only upon him لأنها مكرهة, because she's forced. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he said, رفع عن أمتي عن الخطأ والنسيان وما استكرهوا عليه. My ummah has been forgiven, يعني has been lifted from them the mistakes they make, يعني the repercussions of the mistakes they make, or the nisyan, or what they do out of forgetfulness, or what they're forced to do. That has been lifted from them, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said. And she's mukraha, she's forced. So there's nothing upon her except qada, except to make the day up. طيب, I have another question before we continue. Let's say it's the first day of Ramadan, right? This guy and his wife, their time to be together usually is after Fajr, right? It's the first day of Ramadan. They wake up and like kal'ada, as usual, and they have relations. Both of them forget that it's Ramadan. Both of them forget that it's Ramadan. And they fall into that when they finish. Say, Subhanallah, it's the first day of Ramadan. What's upon them? Yeah, Jibreel. He says just qada. He says they just have to make it up. What do you say? They don't have to make the day up. They have to continue the rest of the day as if they never broke it. Why? Because they did it out of forgetfulness. Jayyid, ahsant. What do you say? Because you're saying it's like salah, for example. A person forgets the salah, or he sleeps and the salah time goes out. He doesn't do it on purpose. Or he, for example, is used to praying in jama'ah, salat al-isha. Today he got busy and he couldn't make the salat al-jama'ah for isha. And so he went to sleep without praying isha. He forgot. And he woke up the next day, salat al-isha, the time finished. He said, Subhanallah, I didn't pray isha. What's upon him to do? Is to make up the day. So you're saying Siyam is the same way if he falls into that, right? If he falls into relations out of forgetfulness, he has to. There's no sin upon him, is what you're saying, but he have to make the day up. That's what you say too, Jibreel? Like the Salah, sah? That's the opinion of the Malikiyah. Ahsantum, very good. But another opinion, which is most likely the correct opinion, is that nothing is upon them. That's the opinion of the majority of the scholars. Nothing is upon them. Because the Messenger of Allah, what does he say? Man nasiya wa huwa sa'im. Whoever forgets while he's fasting, فَأَكَلَ أَوْ شَرِبْ, and he eats or drinks, فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ, let him complete his fast. فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ سَقَاهُ, because it's only Allah who fed him and gave him to drink. And they say, na'am, the Nas mentions food and drink, but also, jima', why did he do it? Why did he do it? Out of forgetfulness. So it's just like food and drink. So the only thing upon them is to do what? Continue to fast the rest of the day, and as if they never fell into it. Okay? As for the madhab, the Hanabila, they say upon them is the qada wal kafara. They have to make the day up and they have to pay kafara. هل يتصور, do you think a person could be fasting and he forgets that he's fasting and fall into that? Maybe eating or drinking once, taking a sip of water, eating a cookie, something like that, eating a date. Or doing that whole act while you're fasting and you don't remember, it's ba'id. And the proof they use is the hadith of the man that came to the Prophet of Allah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, halakt, I've been destroyed. The Messenger of Allah, he said, what destroyed you? He said, I fell on my wife in the daytime of Ramadan. The Messenger of Allah didn't ask him, did you forget? Perhaps you forgot. He didn't ask him that. He didn't seek any detail from him. He told him immediately what he had to do. He didn't ask him, did you forget? Maybe you forgot, perhaps you forgot. He didn't say any of that to him. He told him the kafara immediately. So from that they say, the one who did it on purpose and the one that forgot is the same hukum. But like I said, the opinion, the previous position or opinion that I mentioned, the previous position that is mentioned, that nothing's upon them, it seems like it's the most correct opinion. That's the opinion of the Hanafiya or Shafi'iyya. طيب, the madhab say upon him is qada and kaffarah. He has to make the day up and he has to pay the kaffarah. طيب, we just mentioned the hadith. If you saw a man eating or drinking, or and if a person forgot while he was fasting and he ate or drank, the Prophet of Allah said, let him complete his fast. فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ. Let him complete his fast. The Messenger of Allah called it fasting. Let him complete his fast because it's only Allah who gave him food and drink. Right? What if you saw a person break his fast by accident? He ate or drank by accident. Should you remind him and tell him, stop? What are you doing? It's Ramadan. Or should you let him go because إِنَّمَا أَطَعَهُمُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ, because it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gave him food or drink. What should you do? You should advise him. What do you say, Jibreel? Advise him. What do you say, brother? Advise him. Naam. That's not a proof to use for that. That's incorrect. Rather, you remind the person. Right? That's min bab al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa nahy al-munkar. That's from advising with the good and forbidding the evil. You see a person, even if it's by accident, just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is the one feeding him and giving him drink, still you advise him and tell him to stop, as he would want you to. As the Shaykh he mentioned, he said, wujuban, as-sahih annaka tudhakkiruhu wujuban. He said, what's correct is that you remind him, and that's an obligation upon you. You don't see someone eating or drinking in the daytime of Ramadan and you don't say anything to him. He said, because eating and drinking in the daytime of Ramadan is munkar. It's munkar. And he would love for you to remind him. He will want you to remind him. He doesn't want to make a mistake and corrupt his fast or do anything to break his fast. He will want you to remind him. Even if his fasting is complete. Even if it's complete, still he will want you to remind him, and you should remind him, and it's wajib for you to remind him. طيب. The next mas'ala I want to mention. Go ahead. You had a question, Muhammad? Let's wait till the questions after, okay? The person, and also before we continue, if anyone has any days that they have to make up from the previous Ramadan, hurry and make them up. There's only a few days of Sha'ban left, 13 or 14 days left. Hurry and make the days up, okay? The Shaykh, he brings a masala, a question. هل يجب قضاء الصوم لمن عليه قضاء على الفور أم على التراخي? The person who has to make up days from Ramadan, is it wajib that he makes them up immediately after the month of Ramadan? Or does he have time? The waqt is muwassa'. He has time. He can make it up in any time between that Ramadan, the ending of that Ramadan, and the coming Ramadan. He can make it up in any of those months. Or is it wajib for him to make it up immediately and consecutively? Meaning day after day, just like the month of Ramadan, consecutively fasting. أحسنت. نعم. باتفاق الأئمة الأربع, the agreement of the four Imams, the person who broke his fast in the month of Ramadan, right? He was sick or he was traveling, whatever the case may be, he doesn't have to make the days up immediately. And he doesn't have to make them up consecutively. He can make them up in any of the days that are between that Ramadan and Ramadan coming. And he doesn't have to make them up consecutively, one day after another, like the month of Ramadan. But yustahab lahu dhalik. It's loved for him and it's praiseworthy for him to make it up immediately as soon as the month finishes. As long as he's not sick or traveling or have any excuse to not fast. He should make the days up immediately. And he should do them consecutively. Right? The Shaykh, his opinion, he says that it's yajib. Shaykh Jibreen, rahimahullah, he says it's wajib for him to make the days up immediately. As soon as he has no excuse anymore. But what is correct, and the majority of the scholars and its agreement between the four Imams, is that يعني it's permissible for him to make them up يعني بالتراخي, يعني he make them up between the months before the next Ramadan comes. He doesn't have to make them consecutively, and that is due to firstly the ayah in the Quran. What does it say? فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ, and he makes it up in other days that come after. So the ayah doesn't say على الفور immediately. It says فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ, so days, a number of days after the month, or other days after the month. Okay, so the ayah makes the number of days wajib that he has to make them up, but it doesn't make it the fawriya, yani having to do it immediately or doing them consecutively one after another wajib. The verse just says you need to make the days up. And Aisha radiallahu anha, from the hadith of Salama, or the hadith of Abi Salama, he mentions that yani Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that I had days that I had to make up from the previous Ramadan and I couldn't make them up due to the makana or being busy with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu until Sha'ban. Wasn't able to make them until Sha'ban. So the proofs show that it's permissible, but it's mustahab, it's praiseworthy, it's loved. It's better for you to make them up immediately and consecutively, one after another. That's because the awa'iq being we should be afraid of the things that come in between us and making those days up, like sickness or things like that, or safar, continuous safar and traveling, or maybe you become ajiz, maybe you become unable to fast, right? And if a person, for example, has a udhr and he can't make up the days for whatever reason, and the next Ramadan comes, then the only thing upon him is to make the days up. Let's say a person has a udhr and he can't make the days up, and the next Ramadan comes. Nothing's upon him except to do what? Make the days up. But let's say he has no udhr, he has no excuse, and he's mufarrid. He was lazy, he was negligent. He had 5 days to make up from Ramadan. The whole year went by, he didn't make those days up. Out of negligence, ihmal, being lazy, then what's upon him is to make those days up, and he has to pay kaffarah. To make those days up, and he has to pay kaffarah. And that was the qada or the fatwa of many of the Sahaba. لا يعرف له مخالف, and it's not known that any of the Sahaba disagree with them or oppose them in that. Okay? So upon that person, that's is dangerous. And you fall, you make it more difficult upon yourself being lazy and being negligent. And you're not considered a person to have fasted the month of Ramadan until you finish the days. Even if you fasted 28 days, the only left is 1 day or 2 days, and you didn't complete, you're not considered to have fasted the month of Ramadan until you make those days up. طيب, just a few masail I want to mention, and we finish the class with this. We'll start next week with the masail connected to al-iftar with suhoor, and if a person who dies and he has days left that he didn't make up, how do we deal with that? And some other masail and some of the modern day mufattirat, some of the modern day things that break your fast. We're going to deal with that next class, inshallah ta'ala. Right now, I want to just mention a few more quick masail, a couple minutes, because they have connection to what we mentioned today. Al-ihtilam. Wet dreams. Wet dreams, do they break the fast? Hi, ya ikhwa. Wet dreams. Ahsant. Yani that's a good response, good answer. Ihtilam, wet dreams don't break the fast because you have no say in it. You have no say in it. You didn't purposely have the wet dream. You didn't purposely have the wet dream. Rather, it's something that happened while you sleep and something that we can't control. So it does not break the fast. Okay? Even if it happened during the daytime of Ramadan. طيب, what if a person has a wet dream in the nighttime and he doesn't wake up until after Fajr and he's junub? He's in a state of impurity. Right? What is upon him? He has to make the day up. He doesn't have to make the day up. He has to make ghusl. As it came and narrated from Aisha radiallahu anha that the Messenger of Allah كان يصبح جنوبا, he used to wake up in the state of impurity at times, and he will fast. It was a month of Ramadan, he will fast. Okay? So if you were in that condition, whether you're with your wife or if you had a wet dream and you didn't make ghusl and Fajr came in, you fast. There's nothing upon you except to make ghusl, as our brother mentioned, and continue the day as if nothing happened. طيب. What if a person, he eats suhoor, right? And he sleeps and he wakes up and he has food in his mouth after, yani food between his teeth. He has a piece of whatever stuck between his teeth. He eats suhoor, he goes, he prays, he sleeps. After Fajr, he doesn't realize there's food stuck in his teeth. He sleeps, he wakes up, he realizes during the daytime of Ramadan that he has some food stuck in between his teeth. What's upon him to do, huh? Is his fast valid? His fast is valid. Kaif. He said to remove it, right? What's upon him to do is, if he realizes that there's something in his teeth, he tries to remove it. He removes it. He spits it out. If he swallows it by accident, there's nothing upon him. If he swallows it on purpose, he breaks his fast. So if you realize there's something between your teeth, you try to spit it out. Okay? If you swallow it by accident, you didn't realize, if it gets mixed up with your spit and you swallow it, you say, subhanAllah, that felt like food. You didn't realize it. Nothing upon you. You didn't do it on purpose. You continue to fast. As for you feeling it and you know it's there, and then you still swallow it, it's upon you. You need to make that day over. Some ulama mention if it's extremely small, it doesn't affect you no matter if you did it on purpose or not. But it seems like it's correct. If you do it on purpose, it breaks your fast. If you do it without intent, it doesn't break your fast. طيب. It's disliked to do mubalagha while you're doing madmada and istinshaq. And when you're making wudu and you're putting water in your mouth and water in your nose, it's disliked for you to do it excessively, right? Due to you fasting. When you're not fasting, it's good to do it a lot. The Messenger of Allah, he said for us to balighu, do it excessively or do it a lot, exaggerate in the madmada wa istinshaq, when you're putting water in your mouth and your nose, except when you're fasting. Let's say a person, he exaggerates or he does that, puts a lot of water in his mouth or in his nose, and some water by accident reaches his throat. After the Prophet said, don't do that while you're fasting. He doesn't do it on purpose though. And water reaches his throat. His fast is still valid because he didn't do it on purpose. Ahsant. His fast is still valid. He doesn't do it on purpose, but he needs to stay away from that. What about al-ma' al-mutabaqi? When you make wudu, there's always going to be a little bit of water left in your mouth. And you're going to swallow a little bit of it. It's inevitable. That as well, that little bit of water is ma'fuun an. It's forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So a person shouldn't be losing his mind, I swallow some of the water by accident. La, you try to stay away from it, but there's always, if you make wudu, there's going to be a little bit of water that's left in your mouth. It's going to get mixed up with your spit and you're going to swallow it at times. Okay, so if you excessively do the madmada wa istinshaq, a little water swallowed by accident, it doesn't break the fast. كذلك الماء المتبقي, some of the water that's left from the wudu, it doesn't break the fast as well. طيب, we mentioned the masala of hijama. What about donating blood while you're fasting? Donating blood while you're fasting is just like hijama. You should stay away from it. And those who see that hijama breaks the fast, they say the one who donates blood, if it's a large amount, if it's just a small amount, no. But if it's a large amount, then it breaks the fast. With those who see that hijama breaks the fast. Okay? As for a blood test, if they only take a little bit of blood, you have to get a physical or whatever the case may be during the day. That's the only time you can go. And they only take a little bit, as they do with a blood test. They don't take a lot of blood. Your fast is valid. It doesn't break. It doesn't break the fast. The last thing I want to mention is that the person who falls into jima'a during the daytime of Ramadan, we said upon him is the Kaffarah, right? Let's say he does the jima'a, and he knows that he sinned, he knows that he has to pay Kaffarah, then he does it again though. He says, I might as well do it again. Does he have to pay another Kaffarah for it? is he did it twice in the same day. We know the first kafara is upon him. He does it again in the same day. It's khalas. I already have to pay kafara, do it again. Khalas. You have to pay another kafara? He says yes. No. What are you about to say? Naam. There's one kafara for every day. He already broke the fast. He's sinful. He's sinful, yes, for falling into that sin again, because what's upon him is al-imsak. He has to stay away from all the mufattirat, as we mentioned, especially that one. All the things that break the fast, especially that one, until ghurub al-shams, until the setting of the sun. Right? But for every day, there's only one kafara. Okay? We should all get this next question right. What if he falls into that sin? He does jima' with his wife. He doesn't pay, of course, he doesn't give the kafara. Right? Because if he's going to fast, most likely he's going to have to fast 60 days. The only way that he'll be able to pay the kafara immediately is if he can't fast those days, and then he pays the kafara by feeding 60 people in one day. Let's say he doesn't pay kafara, right? And he has jima' the next day, the second day, but he doesn't pay the kafara yet. So let me give you the surah. He does jima' on Monday. He doesn't pay kafara. Tuesday he does jima' again. How many kafaras upon him now? 2. Ahsantum, very good. There's a kafara for every day. Okay? So if he pay kafara, even if he didn't pay it, he does it the next day, now is upon him 2 kafara. So he'll have to fast 120 days. And he have to feed 120 masakin. Okay? And also this last thing I want to mention is that, because some individuals who do this, they go immediately to feeding 60 poor believers. La. The kafara is not يعني بالتخيير or على التخيير, meaning you choose the one that fits you best. It's بالترتيب. يعني if you can't free a slave, you have to fast 60 days. The only way you can move to feeding 60 poor believers is if you can't fast those 60 days, like the Sahabi. Okay, some individuals immediately they go to feeding 60 poor people. He falls into that sin and he feeds 60 poor people. He has money. La bas, it's easy for him. La, he has to fast 60 days if he has the ability to do it. It's not your choice. It's bit tartib. If you can't do this one, then you have to do this one. If you can't do this one, then you have to do this one. Okay, guys? Jazakumullahu khair. We stop right here, inshallah ta'ala. Next week or this Saturday, inshallah, will be most likely the last class connected to this chapter of Siyam from the book of Manhaj Al Salikin, the Shaykh Al-Sa'di. Jazakumullahu khair. Let's finish off strong, inshallah ta'ala. After this Saturday, possibly on next Wednesday, we'll have a lecture connected to Ramadan. I mentioned the title and the topic of discussion in the groups, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairah. Subhanakallah bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.